All right, we're live. We're live. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you here on Clemson Brown Reporting, which is Tapvideo. And we have a real treat for you today. We have the brother Black Panther. He's originally out of Atlanta, but he's coming to us this morning from overseas. Uh, but he's going to be talking about African spirituality 101. Um, I've really been trying to get my family to understand what African spirituality is and how it relates to a oneness with the universe and kind of the difference between African spirituality and Christianity and Islam and how if there are any if there are any relationships, then everything is a fragment of our original belief system. They all come out of an understanding that Africans had of the universe. But I'm not going to delay. I want to get right into this because I think it's that important. Um, Brother Black Panther, I want
Oh,
you to go
thank you for
on.
having me on. Um, we'll get right into it. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so let me know when you can see or if you can see the presentation.
I don't see it yet.
Okay, let me. Oh, what about now?
No. Durrell, anything you can do?
Let's see. Oh, I see what it is. Okay, so I can go there, and I can go there, and I can share.
There you go.
Okay, what about now?
Hey, that's nice. Yes, you are.
All right. All right. So my name is Black Panther. I am one of the co-founders of the Mossy Warrior Clan Scholarship Group. We dedicate ourselves to studying classic African civilizations continent wide. So I'm going to be presenting on African spirituality 101 today. Let's get started. So, African spirituality. It's the indigenous systems of Africans across the continent whose goal is to manifest energies, worship natural forces in the universe, and venerate progenitors and ancestors. You have to ask yourself the question: what was before Christianity and Islam? Being that those are the two most dominant religions amongst Black people worldwide, we have to know that we as African people had systems of our own before we came into contact with Christians or Muslims. And I put the term at the bottom, kimoyo, and I will explain this term in detail. So, what is kimoyo? Kimoyo is a Bantu word. Literally, it means heart, referring to the essential and vital part of a person. The Bantu religion, which some would say is animism, is not animism. Neither are Bantu animist. The Bantu people are vitalist. We're talking about vitality. We're talking about power, that essence of a man or woman. This is accepting themselves as well as everything in the universe as a part of Inkingu, Amoyo. This is the principle of life in its wholeness. Their spiritual system, where some people would say our religion, deals principally with force and vitality. This religion that does not believe in any physical being, but in Inkolo Yemoyo Mudingo Dingo, which is the force and life through Dingo Dingo. Dingo Dingo is the natural way of life and change. All things change through life, all things change through time. This religion can be called daimo vitalism or kimoyo. So this is from our great elder that is no longer with us, Dr. Fukiao, in his book Digging Up the Past. So we have me and my friend Asar Imhotep have taken this term kimoyo because we believe it encompasses African spiritual systems in totality: force, energy, dynamism, life, vitality. It is here that the African religions, in their aspect among the Bantu, find their roots in dynamism in their wholeness. So a lot of people will be looking at this picture and wondering what those beads are. If you've ever seen the movie Black Panther, these are Kimoyo beads. These are beads used to communicate with his tribesmen, elders, and chief in the comics and in the movie. It's very interesting that they have the same name as the Bantu word in the Congo.
Can I interrupt just to ask you, was
Oh, go
there
ahead.
was there any historical reality to the movie Black Panther? Did they ever
Oh,
exist?
oh yes. There were several African motifs taken from various places in Africa and kind of condensed into a movie to create a society in which is Wakanda. Yes, there are very real life attributes of different tribes that they put into the movie to give it an authentic feel. One of the things being the Doro Milaje, or the females that guard Black Panther. That inspiration was taken from the Benin people, amongst where the king had his own society of female warriors in which did the same things that they did in the movie: protect the king, be sort of the army, and so forth. So that's just one example of one of the real life concepts that they took and put in the movie itself.
Okay, by understanding African spirituality in its most dynamic aspect and consciousness, can we, through our consciousness, go back to some of these abilities? I'll put it that way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A lot of this stuff hasn't went anywhere. It's still in Africa. It's still being practiced. We just have to take those trips and build those bridges and make those relationships.
Mhm.
Upon going to Senegal, I met with some of the elders of the Sahur tribe there. They shared some things with me. I had some spiritual experiences there. Uh, and that's not something that's obtuse. That's something that we can do. A lot of people try to paint this picture of Africans, being hostile to African Americans. I haven't had that experience. I've had the exact opposite. Honestly, I've gone and they've shared things with me and taken me to sacred places and sacred shrines, and you know showed me their culture. One thing about African people, when you're interested in their culture, they become very excited. They become very engaged. So that's just
Yeah.
something.
No, no, I just want to say that has been my experience as well. And I've been blessed to travel with many of our great researchers and historians to at least 30 countries in Africa. And
Awesome.
I've had the same experience that you have. I mean, I love Africa. If my
Absolutely.
family would go with me, I consider picking up and going there. And I don't want to divert from your lecture, so let me get back to it. Let me let you move on.
Okay. So another question that I get asked sometimes is, what can Kimoyo bring to the table for African people in the diaspora? So our culture, our tradition is our immune system. They're our wisdom centers. The number one important thing in African spirituality does for us is the development of character, and some of us need this very badly. The number two important thing in terms of African spirituality does for us respect for the earth, respect for nature, respect for our planet. You know, we only got one, and you know, not African specifically, but humans have done so much damage to the earth. That's a no-no in African spirituality because everything is seen as important, and our deities are infused with natural occurrences and forces in life. The number three important thing in African spirituality and what it does for us is honoring our lineage. You know, our lineage, not just of our immediate family, but sort of a sense of community. You know, we can have all the money, the technology, and the great ideas we want, but if we have bad character, if we disrespect the earth, and we have no sense of African pride and our lineage, we will once again lose our way. So we have to nail these things down, and things like Kimoyo can help us. So I always put this slide in here. And for those that have watched the movie Batman: The Dark Knight, they'll recognize this. The one of the antagonists, Joker, he says, "Why so serious?" all the time. So I'll say to people, "Why so spiritual?" Because you have people that try to be so spiritual that they miss the African point of view within spirituality. So you'll have all these people that they don't want to be around people. They don't want to engage in community. And I tell them, you know, from an African point of view, you can't be so spiritual by yourself. And what I mean by that is the heart of African spirituality is family, is society, is people, connection, relationships. So this is something that is ingrained into the African psyche. You know, we have ethnic groups, we have tribes, we have subgroups, we have all these different types of people that come together to make a spiritual society in which initiations are done, in which rites of passage are done, songs, proverbs, all of these things that we do, but they're done together. So we have to get back to the togetherness of our spiritual practice. Another thing is the rigor that goes into African spiritual practices. A lot of people don't know how much it takes to be a priest or a devotee or something of that manner in these systems. You have to learn so much. It takes so many years. It takes so much time. You probably don't speak the language or it's not your first language in many of these systems. So you have to learn the language. And I am speaking from experience, being that I practice Isheshe, or some people say Ifa. So I'm speaking from experience. The rigor it takes is sometimes overlooked, and the commitment. You have to commit to being spiritual. You have to commit to living this type of life. It's not a fly by night thing. It's something that takes your time. It takes your money. It takes your essence. You have to be all in with this type of lifestyle. So, why is African spirituality so important? And word, culture. Culture is the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. You see that collectively in there. You can't escape the collective. Culture is a fence and the ability to process information. Culture cannot exist outside of ourselves. It is our minds. When you distort a person's culture, you distort their ability to process information. Now, think about that. What did they do to us during the Arab slave trade and the transatlantic slave trade? They distorted our ability to process information because they distorted and messed with our culture. They banned us from practicing our culture. Therefore, we became lost over time, right? So, this will show you just how maniacal this enemy was and what they did to us. Culture is also a historical product. Manhood is an expression of culture. Womanhood is an expression of culture. So just to be within a cultural sphere, a man and a woman has different roles inside of a culture. And that perspective is what we are after. We do not want to assimilate into a foreign culture and be what they have to be a man or be what they have to be a woman, because that is detrimental to our survival as Africans. Identity and personality are cultural instruments. This is a part of how culture defends itself. When everybody is on code and everybody is into the culture, we will defend the culture automatically because it is ours and we take pride in it. So this is a cultural model. This comes from the Congo as well. So we have the terms here at the top. Muntu, meaning human. Moyo, meaning motherhood. Uh, Buta, meaning family. Imwelo, Inzo. This is the extended motherhood. This is like your aunties, big mama, something like that. And we have Inza, the universe. The last one is Kanda, community. Yes, this is the root word in Wakanda. They didn't just take these words from anywhere. They took them from African cultural spheres. And you see, Kanda means community. So that is by no mistake. So the cultural model reads, in the center, we have the humans, the Muntu. After that, we have the family, the Buta. After that, we have the Moyo, our mothers, the motherhoods. And then we have Imwelo Inzo, the extended motherhood. Then we have Kanda, the community. So you see how the community encircles all of these different types of humans, the family, the humans, the mothers. The NZ, we have the universe that encircles the community and everyone else. And then the Nza. Well, I'm sorry, the Nza is the universe, and the NC is the land or country. So that would be, due to the colonial barriers today, Congo would be the NC, and the universe would encircle that and be the Nza. So this is a cultural model of how the Congolese saw things. It acts as a protection model when you get down to the Kanda, which the community protects all of its members. Why are African spiritual systems demonized today? Well, the number one reason is to insert foreign cultures masked as savior systems. Now, that's one common thing you will see in the Abrahamic traditions. You need to be saved. There is a savior. There is someone that is going to save everyone. That is absent from African traditions. You will not see a savior. If you would like a savior, I would like for you to look in the mirror. You must save yourself.
That's what Dr. Clark says.
Absolutely. Safe journey home and prosper to Baba Clark. Yes. Another reason to steal your culture. How many times have we seen movies, television shows, artwork, and you'll look at it and the people that know will go, that's African. But the Africans are getting no money from it, no revenue, no kickbacks, because they steal your culture and feed it back to you. A great example of that is the story of Brer Rabbit. And those of us that are old enough to remember Brer Rabbit as a child in the children's book will say, yes, I remember the story of Brer Rabbit. Brer Rabbit is an Anansi story from the Akan people. It can also be traced back to the Jollof people of Senegambia. And if I read it to you from their perspective, you would say, wait, that's almost word for word. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're not paying the Senegambian people. They're not paying the Akon people. No one's getting that kickback but Walt Disney. They steal your culture and feed it back to you. The third reason is it was not created by your oppressor. So the people that are in power, of course, they're not going to like something they did not create because they don't understand it and they cannot control it. So it must be banned. It must be done away with. One of the first things that they did on the plantation, let's ban that drumming stuff. We don't know what it means. They seem to be communicating and they seem to get a certain way when they hear it. Let's ban it. And that's for a purpose. They didn't do that. It must go. It's against the narrative of enslaving you. Most importantly, because our tradition is powerful. All of these missionaries that went over and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, if you read some of their accounts, they were spooked. They were scared. It shook them a bit to see some of the things we could do. So they had to say, oh, no, 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 no. We have to get that out of here. We have to bring something else in so we can control the narrative. So these are some names of African spiritual systems throughout the African continent. I mentioned one earlier, Isheshe, which is the totality of systems of the Yoruba people in southwestern Nigeria. Isheshe, the word means primordial. So we say something like Isheshe Abe O, which means Isheshe is the most senior, or Isheshe Lagba, Isheshe worldwide. So that's one of the systems out of southwestern Nigeria. We have the Afa system, which is similar to the Ifa system, but you will find it in Benin. We have West African voodoo or voodoo, which you will find in Benin and Togo. Then you have, of course, the Haitian side, the Haitian voodoo, which we are mostly familiar with because of the Haitian Revolution and the Boys Camden ceremony that was conducted before the revolution started. We have Odinani, which is from the Igbo people in Nigeria, which is in southeastern Nigeria. We have the traditions of Kemet, our ancestors in Kemet. They had many traditions, many priesthoods, priests of Aten, priest of Amun, Imhotep, so on and so forth. We have the Afatrug tradition from the Gambia region. Afatrug means way of Rug. Rug is their supreme deity. We have the Eshulalu, which also comes from the Senegambia region, but it's amongst the Jola people. We have Poro and Sandi, which both come from Sierra Leone. Poro being the men's society, Sande being the women's. We have the Okom tradition from the Akan people in Ghana. We have the Mbuti people, which are the forest dwellers in the Congo. We have the Ngomas, who are in South Africa, and their priests are called Sangoma. These are the Zulus, the people, Shaka Zulu's people. We have the Kimpasi and the Leba, who are in the Congo. Kimpasi is the groundwork or the spiritual foundation of what we know today that comes out of Cuba called Palo. So Kimpasi is the original form of that spiritual system. Okay, so what are some common practices within Kimoyo or African spirituality? A creator, a supreme being, an all in all, a force above all. These are things that are common, whether it's Ra or Nebutesha or Amen or Olodumare or Niame. These are some of the names of our supreme beings. We worship natural forces and we personify them as deities. They have archetypes and zootypes as deities. So whether it's the sun or the rivers or iron, we make these are our deities. These are our warriors, so to speak. These are our divine forces. We venerate our ancestors through various practices to include masquerades, rituals, songs, poetries, symbols, etc. All African spiritual systems that I have come across honor their lineage in various ways. Initiations. Those that are experts amongst our society go through different rituals and initiations to further their knowledge and to gain authority in the society to solve problems. And balance. Everything must remain in balance. This is common through African spirituality. And one of the greatest example and most popular examples of that is the term Ma'at from Kemet. There must be a balance.
Can I ask you a question on my art? My
Yes,
comes through us, at least as far as I know, through our ancient Egyptian
yes.
culture. And my art is the primary principle that keeps things in balance and harmony,
Mm-hmm.
um, and harmony and balance, and all the principles, opposites, and so forth, that
Mm-hmm.
into understanding how the universe operates. Is it the same art that is carried over into, that comes from traditional African spirituality? Can you give us a connection there a little better?
Yes, there's a principle from the Congo called Simba Simbi, and Simba Simbi is uh, similar in the respect that it is the thing that keeps everything in motion, everything in balance, everything in its perspective place. So there's a book called Hold Up What Holds You Up. And they're talking about this principle, Simba Simbi, and how if it doesn't exist, the balance doesn't exist and everything goes out of whack. So yes, Ma'at, although it is a principle regulated to Kemet, it is not foreign and is not something that you won't find in other African spiritual systems because balance is so important.
Go ahead, brother. I just wanted you to bring that in.
All right, cool. Divinations. Divination can be seen as a systematic method which to organize what appears to be disjointed random facts of existence such that they provide insight to the problem at hand. So you must ask the question, so why does our universe seem so mathematical and what does that mean? And I'm quoting an author here called Max Temmark. He says, in my new book, Our Mathematical Universe, I argue that it means that our universe isn't just described by math, but it is math in a sense that we're all part of a giant mathematical object, which in turn is a part of a multiverse so huge that it makes other multiverses debated in recent years. And he has a puny comparison for this. I quoted that particular thing because we see all these types of movies, which they talk about the possibility of other universes, and they do it through math. Math is an African thing, it comes from Africa, and divination is an expression of math. For anyone that is a divination practitioner, they know that math is heavily involved. Numbers mean things, different signs that add up to numbers mean other things. So I wanted to put that in there to say this is an African invention, not only just math, but looking at the universe the way that this mathematician does. He goes on to say, we humans have gradually discovered many additional recurring shapes, patterns in nature, involving not only motion and gravity, but also areas as disparate as electricity, magnetism, light, heat, chemistry, radioactivity, subatomic particles. These patterns are summarized by what we call our laws of physics. That is also an African thing. This comes from Africa. We just put them as symbols so that we would know them as what they were. But this starts in the mother continent. He goes on to say, just as a shape of an eclipse, all these laws can be described using mathematical equations. And it comes from the book Our Mathematical Universe, My Quest for the Ultimate Reality, Ultimate Nature of Reality by Mark Timmark. This is an example of what I was just talking about. These are Odu, which come out of the system of Ifa. For my Orumila worshipers, they know what this is. This is an ancient form of binary code. And I will prove that they're here in a second. All right. Within the Odu Ifa, which is our literary corpus for Ifa worshipers, when combined, there are 256 Odu, which is a collection of 16, each of which has 16 alternatives. So you see the equation there. Is believed to reference all situations, all circumstances, actions, and consequences in life based on an uncountable number of verses relative to 256 Odu or codings. These form the basis of the traditional Yoruba spiritual knowledge and are the foundation of all Yoruba divination systems. Ifa proverbs, stories, and poetry are not written down, but passed down orally from one Babalawo to another. And you see the source at the bottom. Now, remember that number, 256. Binary code. It's a coding system of using zeros and ones to represent a letter, a digit, or another character in a computer or an electronic device. The binary code assigns a pattern of binary digits to a character or instruction. For example, a binary string of 8 bits can represent any of how many?
256.
256 possible values, and therefore can represent a variety of different systems. You see how easy that is? There is no computer without African thought. Now let's look right here where it says the binary digits are zeros and ones. I want to go back to this picture. The ones that you see in this picture are zeros. The twos that you see in this picture are ones. So now you see the binary code in our ancient practice.
Yeah.
African divine forces. Wong is a Ga language. Ga people are in Ghana. They say they define divine forces as the invisible, smaller beings of specialized and limited activity associated with medicines and magic with the ability to do work. And that quote is from our brother Asar. Now, let's look at this. What's the definition of energy? Energy is, in physics, the capacity to do work. Wait a minute. Isn't that what the God people are saying? They just said activity associated with medicines and magic with the ability to do work. Energy is saying the same thing. It exists in potential, kinetic, thermal, electrical, chemical, nuclear, or other various forms. There are moreover heat and work, energy in the transfer from one body to another. They both the principle behind both is to do work. And these are some of the deities of these systems. We have Nomo, who comes from Mali amongst the Dogon people. And this is a brief explanation of Nomo. The African concept of Nomo, the power of the spoken word. It carries an energy that produces all life and influences everything from destiny to the naming of children. By human utterance or through the spoken word, human beings can invoke a spiritual power. Nomo, or the generative power of the spoken word, is the force that gives life to everything. It is present everywhere, and it brings into existence all that is seen and unseen. Furthermore, the Dogon believe that humans have the power over the word and thereby can direct the life force. This is from Southern Africa. I believe amongst the either the Zotians or the Zulus. But his name is Unkulu Kulu. Unkulu Kulu brought humans beings and the cattle from an area of reeds. He created everything from the land and water to man and animals. He is considered the first man as well as the parent of all Zulu. He taught the Zulu how to hunt, how to make fire, and how to grow food. So he is a Zulu deity. His name is Unkulu Kulu. This deity you'll see in a variety of systems, either Sapanya or Shapanya or Obaluaye, or the Cubans say Babaluaye. You will see him in Voodoo. You will see him in Isheshe. You will see him in a variety of systems. He is a deity of smallpox, healing, and other epidemic diseases. This is another deity called Dambala that comes from the Haitian Voodoo people. He's a sky father, primordial creator of all life, or the first thing created by a deity called Granmet. In those Voodoo societies that view Dambala as a primordial creator, he created the cosmos by using his 7,000 coils to form the stars, the planets, and the heavens, and to shape the hills and valleys on earth. So he is a serpent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is Nana Bukulu. She is the mother, the great mother. She is most influential deity in the West African theology, one of the most shared by many ethnic groups. In this tradition of West Africa, creation starts with a female supreme being called Nana Bukulu, who gave birth to Mawu and Lisa and created the universe. So this is amongst West African voodoo, where she is the most powerful and she is the great mother.
Mm.
She is a guardian deity of the Yam, of the Igbo people of southeastern Nigeria. In parts of Igbo land, there are still annual rituals in honor of this Yam deity known as Ife Jijoku. Now, the Yam is very important to Nigerians in general. And a study was done on the Nigerians in general because the Nigerians have so many twins in their society. They have the most population of twins in the world. And it was discovered that it is because of the constant eating of the yam that is why they have the most twins in the world. And if you look at this deity, what is he? He's a twin. And actually, he's a triplet.
Yeah.
So this is no mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Chukwu is the supreme deity of the Igbo people as well in the Odinani tradition. There are 6 aspects of Chukwu. The first force is Chukwu in the existence of all beings. Then you have Anyanwu, the symbolic meaning of the sun. The sun reveals everything, so Chukwu is the source of all knowledge and the author of all knowledge. You have Allah, the fertility of earth, its people, and its spiritual world full of sub deities. You have Amadioha, the bringer of justice, love, peace, and unity, and the creator of mankind. Then you have Chi. No, not the one from Asia. Africans have their own Chi, a sub deity functioning as a personal spiritual guide. And then you have Okike, the creator of laws that govern the visible and invisible.
Mm.
Here you have Olodumare, who is the supreme deity amongst the Yoruba people. The name Olodumare symbolizes a divine entity of the following and these characteristics: not having a father or mother, one that simultaneously is and not bound by space. Olodumare is simply existence itself.
Mm. Mm.
Here's one that everyone's familiar with: Baba Ogun. Ogun, the divinity of hunting, blacksmithing, and war, divinity of courage and valor, divinity of creativity, engineering, or construction. And probably the most popular deity in the diaspora, Shango. the royal ancestor of the Yoruba, as he was the third Alafin, which means king, of a kingdom called Oyo. The thunder and lightning deity, he is also regarded as a fire breather. And he is regarded as a fire breather because fire brings truth, and he is a truth-telling divinity as well. These are some of the notable elders that have been involved in African spirituality over the years. We have Mama Maremba Ani, who wrote the masterpiece Urugu, and the book that I love, Let the Circle Be Unbroken. We have Baba Wade Nobles, or as I know him, Shango Dare, for he is a Shango child. He wrote the book Island of Memes about the Haitian Revolution. Very great book. We have Baba James Smalls, high priest of the craft of Hugh Nefer, and also involved in voodoo and Isheshe practices. Baba Smalls is a walking library. And we have Baba Leonard Jeffries, who is also involved in various African spiritual practices, as you see his headgear in this picture, which is amongst the Akan. And he has a powerful message for us here. Whoever controls the images controls your self-esteem, self-respect, self-development. Whoever controls the history controls the vision. And probably my favorite scholar, Nana, John Henrik Clark. And I say Nana in there because that is his title from the Akan people. Nana is a attribute that is basically a deity on earth. And he says to be black and beautiful means nothing in this world unless we are black and powerful. This little excerpt is from an article that I wrote called Symptom of White Supremacy. Pseudoscience is when a knowledge claim purports to be scientific but does not meet the requirements of the scientific method. Empirical evidence and observation are enemies to pseudoscience. Empirical observation and evidence is what our traditional sciences and spirituality were based on. In short, the main question is, can it be tested? And out of that test, can we gather credible evidence? Today, you find many African people in the diaspora that are caught up and engaged in foreign practices that they are labeling science, which cannot be tested or obtained data from. Where does this behavior come from? And why is it so prevalent today in the diaspora? We have to go back to the transatlantic slave trade when we were ripped from our homes, and what type of sciences were we practicing? Our science were inside the tradition of voodoo, Ifa, Poro, Sande, Odenani, Afadrug, Afa, and others. The scientific proportion in these traditions usually revolved around medicine. These were cultural wisdom centers of science that taught initiates about life and culture. The elaborate rituals and festivals were equivalent to a college course schedule. These institutions taught math, science, architecture, art, writing, and more. These wisdom centers were damaged during the transatlantic slave trade, and although they survived the hardship of the Ma'afa, they were replaced in the minds of the people by the three dominant monotheistic Abrahamic religions. We can deduce that this occurrence was the first method in which white supremacy drove African people away from science. And these are some pseudo claims about African spirituality. They will say that we are devil worshipers. They will say that we are pagans. They will say that we are primitive. They will say that we are polytheistic. They will say that we are folk religious. They will say that we are these derogative things that come out of Hollywood and Nollywood. First of all, there are no devils in African spiritual systems. That is an Abrahamic thing. To be pagan we would have to believe in the three monotheistic religions, which we do not practice. That is just a derogatory term that says you don't believe what I believe. Primitive. If we are so primitive, then why is society based on our findings? And we are neither polytheistic nor monotheistic. We don't fit inside these Western boxes. We don't fit inside of these labels that were created thousands of years after our creation. And one thing I want to make clear, people will say we are folk religious. If you go to the Pew, which researches all the religions on the planet, they label us as folk religion. And when I looked up what folk religion was, it suggests that we are the offspring of the three dominant religions, being Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And that is totally false, being that we were before the three most dominant religions. So they have it a bit backwards. Hollywood and Nollywood always depict us in their movies as evil and derogatory. And that is not coincidental. We went over why they do that earlier, but it's a psychological tool that's used in our entertainment to keep us away from experiencing our African essence and tradition. And these are some of my references that anyone can screenshot or pause this and look them up. And I believe that is the end of the presentation. Oh,
Well, let me.
Shout myself out. These are find me. This is my website at the top, Black Panther.
Hold on, let me get back there. Okay.
So that's my website at the top. Our YouTube channel for our group is Mossy Warrior Clan all together. My YouTube channel is Black Panther. I have two children's books actually. Aaron Knows About Africa and Ikaro Mama, Mommy and Ikaro Daddy, both available on Amazon. I also have the world's first Pan-African journal of the conscious community. It's called Killmonger's Corner, and it's available on Amazon right now. And at the bottom is my wife's book. It's a poetry book called Perceptions of a Misplaced African, also on Amazon right now. So that is the end of my slideshow. Let me stop sharing.
Can I ask you just a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
Now, since I said maybe 80% of Black people are still in one of these religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, are there any similarities in these religions that attract Black people to them because they are reflecting ancient African traditions, or at least coming out of the elements of ancient African religion?
Absolutely.
Why do we adhere to these religions to death?
Because we're a spiritual people by nature. And it's a twofold problem. One is, our family. Our family go generations back, even to coming out of slavery. Your great grandmama was in the church, your grandma was in the church, so on and so forth. So then, that important gets, put on you from a young age. So you think this is what you're supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to be at. This is what Black people do, because no one taught you anything else. Because you have to remember, going back in that lineage, they were stripping that knowledge from your great ancestors. So we are going to have to be the people to bring it back. We're going to have to be the people to build those bridges and learn about the things that we used to do. because the system, the way they wanted it to work, has worked. We're no longer interested. We were afraid. We're standoffish. But we have to break down those walls that were created by invaders and learn what was before these religions. And you said something earlier that's true. These religions do have fragments of what we do. If you go into the Judaism, they have Yom Kippur. And if you look at what they are doing, they're taking birds, they are putting them on people's heads, they're saying prayers, they're washing heads. That's what we do. We call that a ori washing. When you wash the spiritual head, when you wash the head and wash all of the troubles away from the person, and it's done with birds and water and other things like that, just like they do. But it's only evil when Black people do it. So you see the trick. It's only evil when Black folks do it. When white folks do it, oh, that's just their cultural practice. Why can't it just be our cultural practice? The Islamics do the same thing. How many bulls and chickens and everything else get sacrificed to Allah at the Kaaba during Mecca every year? Thousands. Nobody bats an eye. But Black people do it. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you can't. Oh, you can't do that. No, that's not right. Well, why can they do it and it's fine? The whole religion of Christianity is based upon a sacrifice of a human.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. Without him, we're still in sin, right? So
That's right.
why can they do their sacrifices and we cannot do ours? We're not sacrificing people. And every first Sunday, they pass around what is representative of blood and flesh. And you want to judge me? I'm not doing that. But this is some of the things that, people don't bat eyes at until Africans start doing them in their cultural sphere. And then everybody gets nervous. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the system working effectively. If you hear the words like voodoo and you get nervous, they got you. They got you. They don't want you to know anything about what this is because they're scared of it.
Yes, absolutely. Now, let me, this is the final question I'm going to ask you, but when we look at our history and we look at the last great empire of Africa before Europeans really came in, overwhelmingly, and that was the empire of Songhai. And in the final decision that brought down that empire, decision is not the right word, but it was gunpowder, it was the musket, it was cannons, it was the overpowering, devastating force of death through the gun, which the Africans had not created, advanced in. Those, it was a European creation. But what I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned the Dogon, but the Africans created 3 calendars. They created the 365-day calendar. They created the lunar calendar, but they also created the zodiac, which is a calendar based on 26,000 year circulation. And we are now in that area of that calendar in which the Ethiopian star Kephas is on the horizon, and Kephas stands for the Ethiopian king, the rise of the Black man. But corresponding with the understanding that Africans brought in terms of their knowledge of the universe are the 7 principles, one of them being the laws of correspondence. If you have up, you have down, You have east, you got west, you got right, you got wrong. And so even Rome doing evil has its time of dominance. And we have been in that era of where, where Rome doing dominates the planet. Uh, and that's has been projected, been carried out uh, by, I would say, European forces. But that time is now up. And I just wanted you to speak to that in terms of Kepha's Ethiopian star. It's just like winter, spring, summer, autumn. When these seasons come, human beings have no control of them. We can look at the stars, but we can't take them down. We can't put them up. We can't manipulate them. These things are going to happen because they are beyond the grasp and control of human beings. And even though, we say we got the greatest nuclear weapons in the world, these things are still going to come about. What is your insight and understanding of this time that we're in and what the Africans laid out in the Temple of Dendera?
Everything has its cycle. Everything has its time. Everything has its era, so to speak. Unfortunately, we have been stuck in this area for a very long time, generations upon generations. Through my study of different calendars, I always talk about a time of misfortune. No matter what the calendar is, whether if you check Ethiopia, whether you check Uganda, whether you check Congo, wherever, there's a time of misfortune. Uh, as you alluded to, the Europeans came with technology when they couldn't, beat us the old-fashioned way, and that was how a lot of places were defeated. Even places that tried to re-engineer their guns, like places in Central Africa, they still fell to superior technology. It is my hope, it is my prayer, it is my with everything that I have since declaration that you don't come out of these times without fighting. You don't just wake up and they're like, oh, okay, that's over. We're going to stop oppressing them. We have to continue to fight. We have to continue to push. We have to continue to learn. We have to continue to build. We have to continue to do the things that our great ancestors have done and that we must carry forward. So when that time to where it is over is complete, we are prepared to step into the new time of abundance and step into the new time of happiness and a utopia that only we can create. It Isfet, a Jogun, whatever you want to call these forces that push against the other side, they're always going to be there. We can't get rid of our oppressors. They're going to be there whether we create African sovereignty and freedom or not. They're still going to be there. But we must do what we need to do so when the time for their rule is over, we will have all we need to build what we need to build and build it for our children, build it for ourselves, and remember this time so that we will not repeat it on the next cycle or future cycles that come about.
I want to thank you. It's been my wonderful, dynamic presentation. So I look forward to the future in which we can have other interviews with you. But I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for our viewing audience. There's thousands of people who needed this presentation this morning. And so I'm thanking you for them. And I'm asking people to go to his cash, to Black Panther's cash out And look, give this brother your heart. I mean, you can't get everything free. We've got to start paying for the information that is brought to you by brothers and sisters who have done this research, who took the time to put together presentations and PowerPoints and all that. So I'm asking you to cash out and cash out big to help them. You don't know what their needs are, but they have needs just like you got needs, just like I got needs. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank you, brother Black Panther.
Thank you as well, Bob. That's it. That's it. That's it.
All right. Okay. We look forward.